Hello and welcome to another video about IELTS reading today. And today in the video, we will be doing an academic part of reading. So this can also come in the GT reading because academic reading is one part of GT reading. Whenever you take an exam, you know how it comes in the exam. So for today, I have selected a passage from a technology kind of reading because I have seen lately that these kinds of readings are often something that students are getting in their examination. And also, this kind of readings will be helping you for writing as well because there is a lot of topics on technology. So, let's begin with the reading. I will be giving you the link of the reading. You can see in this window that it is from mini-ielts.com, and I will be providing you the link in the description. So please have a look at the link if you want to prepare the reading beforehand and then you want to catch up with the video just to have the explanation and how the answers were those answers that maybe you can make a mistake or maybe you got that correct but don't know how you got that correct. So just keep following the reading. I will be explaining why the answers are those that are coming up while explaining from where you're getting the passage. Also, I will be giving you some tips of how to get certain answers while I'm going through the reading. I will be providing you with the meanings also, like some kinds of vocabularies that you will be seeing in this reading can be a little bit difficult, so I will be giving those also. Like I will giving you the meanings or any synonyms of those two. So let's start with the reading. So the reading is about technology improving reading in a whole new way. So let's begin. The first line is a question. It says, as technology improves, how does the act of reading change? Okay, so let's see what it says. Reading and writing, like all technologies, are constantly changing. So, yeah, we also know reading and writing is changing. When we used to be in the schools, we used to write, and now we are typing that. So, yeah, it is changing. Even reading, we are reading it through PDFs, not through books anymore. Even your IELTS exam, you are taking IELTS exam on computer. So, yep, it is changing for sure. In ancient times, authors often dictated their books. So, yeah, in ancient times, we know that dictation was the way. And if we go back to the era when Socrates was there, he used to dictate, and his student, who was Plato, he used to take the dictations. So, yeah, in ancient times, we know that authors often dictated their books. Dictation sounded like an uninterrupted series of words. So whenever we dictate something, we just go with the flow and we keep on speaking and speaking. So yeah, uninterrupted series of words. So scribes wrote these down in one long continuous string. Who are the scribes? Scribes are those person who copies out documents before printing was invented. So scribes is kind of a profession, and these are or those were the people who used to write down from the dictators. Okay, so the example that is given is just as they occur in speech, but they are written in such a way here in the reading that there is no space given. So that was the same way how the scribes used to write down whenever the dictator was giving a speech. For this reason, text was written without spaces between words until the 11th century. Okay, that's good. Next, let's see. Oops, I did a boo-boo. Let me scroll that. Hmm. This continuous script made books hard to read, so only a few people were accomplished at reading them aloud to others. So yeah, if you don't write anything without space, so it will be making things hard for others to read for sure, like you saw the example, right? Okay. So, yeah, it was difficult. We understand, even if that's today's scenario, it will be difficult too. If you don't have any space or something, you won't be able to read that. Being able to read silently to yourself was considered an amazing talent. Writing was an even rarer skill. So, this explains that if you were able to read silently, like when you are reading at the exam hall, you are reading that silently, right? So, that was an amazing talent. Till now, also, some people they cannot read silently. So, yeah, you guys have a talent if you can. And writing was even rarer skill. Hmm. In fact, in 15th century Europe, only 1 in 20 adult males could write. So in 15th century Europe, 1 out of 20 adult males could write. So if there were 200 people, it will be only 10 among them, like males, who can write. And that goes on. But now things have changed. Mostly every person can write. So just imagine what was happening in the 15th century in Europe. After Gutenberg's invention of the printing press in about 1400, mass-produced books changed the way people read and wrote. So after the invention of the printing press in that year, so mass production of books were changed totally, the way the people are reading things and writing things, right? Next line is the technology of printing increased the number of words available and more types of media, such as newspapers and magazines, broadened what was written about. So, yes, with the advent of printing and the number of words available, there will be different kinds of way by which printing can be done. And they are like newspapers, magazines, and so on. Authors no longer had to produce scholarly works such as what was common back then, like the ones that they were writing, scholarly works, maybe some kind of research. They had no longer to produce those, but could write, for example, inexpensive, heart-rending love stories or publish autobiographies, even if they were unknown. So they can write stories, they can write fiction, non-fiction, and whatnot. So here we are seeing the word heartrending. Heartrending is heartbreaking, like the love stories that you read and cry. Those are heartrending. Okay, let's move to the next passage. Hmm. In time, the power of the written word gave birth to the idea of authority and expertise. Ooh, flashy words. So, authority is nothing but power, expertise is nothing but proficiency. So, if you are good at something, that's your expertise, area of expertise. Laws were compiled into official documents, contracts were written down, and nothing was valid unless it was in this form. So, laws were compiled means they were made into official documents and they were written down. And anything that is not written down was not considered as a valid form of that thing. That's great. Next line, painting, architecture, dance were all important, but the heartbeat of many cultures was the turning pages of a book. So, yeah, forms of art like painting, music, architecture, dance, they were good. But what was having the limelight? It was turning pages of a book. So if you can read, wow, that's form of an art. By the early 19th century, public libraries had been built in many cities. That's kind of an information that the reading passage is providing you. Today, words are migrating from paper to computers, phones, laptops, and game consoles. So, now this para is giving you kind of a twist, like how technology and reading is getting combined into. Some 4.5 billion digital screens illuminate our lives. Yes, they do. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, and whatnot. So, those digital screens are showing us how we are living. They're showing everything that we are doing, whatever we are posting. Letters are no longer fixed in black ink on paper, but flitter on a glass surface in a rainbow of colors as fast as our eyes can blink. So, yeah, letters no longer are written in black ink, how they were written in books, but they are written in different kinds of colors, like rainbow of colors that they are explaining. And how we can see on screen that when you are typing something, you can change the font, you can change the color, the size, and whatnot. Screens fill our pockets, briefcases, cars, living room walls, and sides of buildings. Screen filling our pockets, mobile phones, maybe tablets that are smaller in size, briefcases, laptops, cars. You have GPS. Yes, then screen is there too. Living room walls, television screens, and the sides of buildings, billboards, right? In some buildings, there are fixatures like billboards, bigger version of television, you can say, and they are having screens too. Okay, next line. They sit in front of us when we work. Yeah, whenever you're working, it is hard to imagine place like a workplace without a screen in front of you. So there are computers in front of you, tablets maybe in front of you, or maybe you're working and there is a mobile phone in front of you. Anything, regardless of what we do. So there are screens that are in front of us, and it does not matter what we are doing, they are in front of us. Like whenever I'm recording this, I'm having my tablet in front of me. So regardless of what I'm doing, I'm having that tablet. Whenever I was preparing this, the tablet was in front of me. So yeah. And of course, these newly ubiquitous screens have changed how we read and write. So yeah, this newly ubiquitous, flowy word you can say. Ubiquitous means omnipresent. So something that is present everywhere. So these have changed how we read and write. Yep, it has. Let's move to the next para. The first screens that overtook culture several decades ago, the big, fat, warm tubes of television, reduced the time we spent reading to such an extent that it seemed as if reading and writing were over. So, whenever we used to spend our time in front of television, parents used to say that you're sitting in front of an idiot box. Why idiot box? Because you are not doing anything, you are just following what the TV is showing you. And again, when you are watching TV, you are just watching that passively. You are not doing anything actively. And reading, writing were over means reading, writing was totally done. Nobody was doing anything, just watching the television. Let's move to the next line. Educators and parents worried deeply by the TV generation would be unable to write. Or deeply that the TV generation would be unable to write. So yes, even my parents were they were worried when I used to watch television. So it was just reduced to 1 hour, and that also on the weekends that I was able to watch that because they wanted me to study well. So, see, that was the impact of watching television on the society. But the interconnected, cool, thin displays of computer screens launched an epidemic of writing that continues to swell. So, these line means that TV, yeah, it was something that the parents, they never liked us watching it, but with computers, it was a little bit different. It says it launched an epidemic of writing. So let's see what the next line says. As a consequence, the amount of time people spend reading has almost tripled since 1980. So, yeah, when you're doing something on a computer, you are typing that too, you are reading that too. So, computer is generally better than television in those ways. By 2008, the World Wide Web contained more than 1 trillion pages, and that grows rapidly every day. So that's just a fact that this reading is giving you. Let's move to the next paragraph. But it is not book reading or newspaper reading, it is screen reading. So, yes, when you're on a computer, you're just going through the screen and reading it like that. So, it's not book reading, it's screen reading. Screens are always on, and unlike books, we never stop staring at them. So, even when I'm recording this video, I'm just staring on my tablet screen, just like that, and I'm recording it. So, like books, whenever you are reading books, you are turning the pages or folding the book, keeping that away from you. But when you're on the screen, you are constantly looking at the screen. Maybe you are just scrolling up, scrolling down, moving that sideways, or just like increasing, decreasing like that. But you are constantly looking at the screen. Okay, let's see what the next line says. This new platform, they're talking about the computer and the screens, is very visual, and it is gradually merging words with moving images. Yeah, for sure. So whenever you are watching something on a tablet or computer or phone, it is really visual. When you are reading something, you're watching a video of that, and it like moving images. Yeah, videos are moving images. It will be frames per second for video. So yeah, moving images. Next line. You might think of this new medium as book we watch or television we read. So book we watch means you're reading a book and watching that happening, or television we read. So you're watching a television and thinking that you're reading the lines. So that's what it is trying to say. For example, the captions. Maybe you're watching something with a caption on. That's also reading. And you can do that on the screens, right? So let's see what the next line says. We also use screens to present data. Yeah, we do. When we are, for example, somebody showing a graph of something, they are presenting a data. So, yep. And this encourages numeracy. How? Like whenever you are preparing a graph or something, you're showing a number, percentage, a ratio, and whatnot. Visualizing data and reading charts. Looking at pictures and symbols, all are part of this new literacy. So when you are presenting a graph, a chart, and whatnot, there are pictures that symbolizes something, something in the graph, and this is the part of new literacy. That's the screen or computer literacy. Let's move to the next para. Screens engage our bodies too. The most we may do while reading a book is to flip the pages or turn over a corner. So, whenever you're reading a book, you're flipping the pages. Sometimes you can also use your pencil or pen to mark something important and turn over a corner. You can do that while it is saving as a bookmark, or you can put a bookmark inside that. So, those are the most things we do while reading a book. But when we use a screen, we interact with what we see. So whenever we are using a screen, interacting, like I'm moving this cursor, see? So I'm interacting with that, or I'm scrolling that, see? So that is also an interaction, I would say. Resizing is interaction also. If I just want to highlight like that, that's an interaction too. Undoing is interaction too. Whatever I'm doing is kind of an interaction, right? In the futuristic movie, Minority Report, that's the name of the movie. Good name. The main character stands in front of a screen and hunts through huge amounts of information as if conducting an orchestra. So, they are talking about a movie right now, so it is kind of an example. So, in that movie, the main character, the hero, anything you can say, stands in front of the screen and searches for information, I would say. And it looks like he is conducting or she is conducting an orchestra. In orchestra, you have seen like there is a group of people playing instruments, and there is a director who tries to direct every single musician in the group. So it looked like the same thing happening in the movie, in the futuristic movie. Just as it seemed strange 5 centuries ago to see someone read silently. So, just as it was maybe impossible or next to impossible to imagine about somebody reading silently, now in future it is to some extent like next to impossible to think somebody hunting for that information on the screen. In the future, it will seem strange to read without moving your body. So, yeah, maybe in the future it will be next to impossible to stay at a fixed place and read something. Okay, let's go to the next para. In addition, screens encourage more utilitarian, that is, practical thinking. A new idea or unfamiliar fact will cause a reflex to do something, to research a word, to question your screen friends for their opinions, or to find alternative views. So, they are talking about how the screens are doing more when it comes to thinking. So, whenever you are on screen, your friends can help with their opinions, right? Like if you're on Facebook, you find a post and you comment on that, tagging one or two of your friends, and they will be having their own point of view on that and they will be explaining that. Why on Facebook? Even any single thread, whenever you post it anywhere, they have some group of people who comment, and sometimes they just give more and more ideas. Book reading strengthened our analytical skills. So, how to analyze that, how to think critically. Book reading strengthened that, encouraging us to think carefully about how we feel. So, that's what book reading has helped us in. And that's the positive side of book reading. Even in task 2 essays, if you get something like technology and education, you can put this point and explain that. So that's the reason I say reading is really important. And whenever you are reading something, you retain that and you will be writing that in the exam if that comes in task 2, which is really good thing. Okay, let's move to the next line. Screen reading, on the other hand, this is a contrast, encourages quick responses, associating this idea with another, equipping us to deal with the thousands of new thoughts expressed every day. So while you are reading something on the book, it is helping you with your analyzing skills and critical thinking or carefully thinking about something how we feel. Screen reading, on the flip side, it is encouraging us with quicker responses, associating the idea with one another. So these are the benefits of screen reading. And again, if that is an essay in task 2, you can write these points as well. Let's move to the next line. For example, we review a movie for our friends while we watch it. So, yeah, whenever you're watching a movie, side by side you comment, right? That, this scene should not have been shot like this, or the hero is not acting how he should be. Oh, why the song is there in between the movie? Something like that. We comment all the time. I don't know about all of you, but I do. So, yeah, when you're watching a movie, you are expressing your thoughts, and that goes hand in hand. We read the owner's manual of a device we see in a shop before we purchase it, rather than we get home and discover that it can't do what we need to do. So, yeah, imagine you are buying something that is not assembled, and you are reading, going through the owner's manual, do you review that at that same time? Like you are reading, okay, so part A should be connected with part C, and you're like, no, it should not be, or I don't think so. You don't say like that, right? And even going through that owner's manual for maybe an hour and seeing the parts, sometimes it is really, really hard to think that, okay, I should be doing that in practice. And that's the reason there are so many YouTube videos with something like any device that it is hard to assemble, right? Let's move to the next para. Screens provoke action instead of persuasion. So, persuasion has its own meaning, which means prompting to do or believe something. So, persuading, so persuasion, everything like that, okay? So, next word, propaganda. Meaning of propaganda is kind of a disinformation or brainwashing. That's a better word, brainwashing, right? So, it is according to the dictionary, it is information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, to promote or publicize a particular political cause. So, brainwashing, you can say. Propaganda is less effective, and false information is hard to deliver in a world of screens because while misinformation travels fast, corrections do too. So they are saying that while you are in the screen era, right? In the screen era, it is really like lesser and lesser chance for fake news to travel to you, because if there are fake news, there will be real news as well, because some people will be there on the internet and they will be trying to correctify or rectify people. So, yes, like you know about the grammar Nazis, whenever you make a mistake, you will see thousands of people commenting under that same thing and trying to rectify that. In the same way, if there is a misinformation, there will be corrections like follow up. Let's move to the next line. On a screen, it is often easier to correct a falsehood than to tell one in the first place. So, when somebody is writing a book and you see a mistake, we do. Most of the time, we do. I have seen books with mistakes. I never ever approached that writer or the publishing house to correct that, like rectifying that. Why would I? How would I? So, these were the questions that came to my mind, and similarly, you guys will have the same thing on your mind. But if you see something with a wrong look, like a misinformation online, with that permission that you are having to comment on that or retweet or do anything on that, so you will be in the first place trying to let others know, or maybe the owner of the post know that no, this is wrong and this should be this, right? Okay, what's the next line? Wikipedia works so well because it removes an error in a single click. Yes, Wikipedia is really good when it comes to information, because it will give you all those source also from where it got the information, and you can try to paraphrase that and write it whenever you're trying to provide the source. You can just quote the source. That's it. Even if there is a misinformation in Wikipedia, there are people who edit that. So they try to rectify it from the back end. Okay, next line. In books, we find a revealed truth. On the screen, we assemble our own truth from pieces. So, in books, you're reading a book and bam, you found something that is interesting and it revealed truth. But on the screen, when we are watching some movies, for example, think about any interesting suspense thriller movie, and at the end, when you see the last scene of the movie, you are like, oh, that was the reason for that to happen in the beginning of the movie. So you try to connect the things that you saw. So book and screen, they have tried to distinguish there. What is more, a screen can reveal the inner nature of things, yes. Waving the camera eye of a smartphone over a barcode of a manufactured product reveals its price. We have seen scanning the QR code and you get everything like whenever you go to a restaurant, you get the menu by scanning the QR code. So that's awesome. So, yeah, its price, origins, and even relevant comments by other owners. Yes, it does. It is as if the screen displays the object's intangible essence. So, by scanning something in the barcode, you can see something that you might not be able to touch that is intangible. Tangible means you can touch that, and intangible is just the opposite. So, yeah, but you are getting all of the information on it. Even there are applications with which you can scan barcode in a, like I would say a shopping center like Walmart, and you can see every single detail that describes that product. So that's a good thing. Next line. A popular children's toy, Webkins, installs stuffed animals with a virtual character that is hidden inside. A screen enables children to play with this inner character online on a virtual world. So, yes, they are talking about a virtual character and a game in which children can play with the characters of those animals online. For example, there was Pokemon Go, and in Pokemon Go, you used to play with those Pokemons and see them in your own room, like they were having that kind of technology. So, that is also a great feature. You are interacting with something in your room through the screen. Wow. And this is the last para. In the near future, screens will be the first place we will look for answers. For friends, for news, for meaning, for our sense of whom we are and who we can be. I love the last line of this reading passage because it says everything we are doing now too, right? So in future, I can say in the present too, screens, they are the first place we look for answers. For example, if you hear about death of a celebrity you love, you will check your phone. You won't be like phone for like checking the internet, but you won't be checking or waiting for the newspaper next day, right? So for checking any answer, it is the screen that we see. Even if you're suffering from something, maybe you are not well today, you are having kind of itchy issues like irritation on your skin. Take your phone, try to see why you are having. We do that. We are habituated of doing that. Even for friends. For example, you were thinking of your friend. I was studying with him in school, I was with him, and I don't know what he's doing right now. Check Facebook, check Instagram. Who knows where he is? And then you found him on Facebook. Wow. For news, we just explain for news. Yeah, we do that. For meaning, yes, meaning maybe when you are searching for a meaning while preparing for your IELTS, or meaning of your life, that why this is happening to me, or for our sense of who we are, yeah, philosophical things, and who we can be. Sometimes we do check that I want to be a data analyst. What do I have to study? Like, in which colleges should I get admissions, or is there any certificates? So, yeah, we aim for something and we check what we can do in the meanwhile through the screens. Interesting, right? So now, if you want to practice the questions 1 to 14, I guess, if you want to do that, you can go ahead and pause the video in here. And after you're done with the questions, we can follow up together. And to practice that, you can download a PDF from this website that I'm highlighting over here. Oopsie, yeah, this one. So you can practice it from there, and I have provided that link in the description. So just click that, download that, practice, and pause my video in the meanwhile so that we can catch up with the answers. I hope you have practiced. Now let's check what you have got and what should be the answers. The answers are practically in the PDF only at the end of the PDF. If you have checked that and you have seen how many were correct and how many are wrong, you will know how you are following up with the reading. But for now, let's begin with the explanation. So, the question one, it is about choose the correct letter A, B, C, D. So, this is multiple choice of questions. So, let's do the MCQs. So, the first question is, what does the writer say about dictation? So, for this, if you have seen that in the passage, let's go back to the passage and scroll, scroll, scroll all the way to there. So we can see that dictation is mentioned in here like this. Dictation. What does the writer say about dictation? So let's read the lines again. Dictation sounded like an uninterrupted series of words. So scribes wrote these down in one long continuous string. And then the example, you see. For this reason, text was written without spaces between words until the 11th century. Okay, let's go back to our question. After reading the passage, let's see what options we are getting in here. First option, it helped people to learn to read. So it helped people learn to read. Did that say about that passage? No, it does not. It affected the way people wrote. Did it affect the way people wrote? What do you think? Let's go back. It said something about uninterrupted series of words, and then you see this word without space. Yeah, yeah. Somewhat yes, you think? Let's see the third option. It was not used until 11th century. No, it was not said like that at all in the paragraph. So, not A, not C. Let's see what D says. It was used mainly for correspondence. I don't see that word in the passage. So, I would not think about D at all. I feel B is the answer, and yes, B is the answer for sure. Let's go back to the passage. Why B is the answer, and what does the question, like the option B says? It says it affected the way people wrote. So it affected the way how? Because people wrote something like that. People used to write something like that we are seeing in the passage. This one. Uh-huh. And it was written without spaces until 11th century. So it affected how people wrote. So it will be the option B. Next question. According to the writer, what changed after the invention of the printing press? Something is said about a printing press in the passage too. So let's see where. Where do you see printing press? I can see printing press in here. So let's see what it says about the printing press. Okay, let's check the second question. According to the writer, what changed after the invention of the printing press? Let's go back to the passage to see where printing press was mentioned. It was in there. You can see the third para, I would say. what? Let's see what they say about the printing press. So after the invention of the printing press in about 1400, mass-produced books changed the way people read and wrote. As technology of printing increased, the number of this, we can see all those lines in there. The question is about what was changed. Again, let's see what was changed. You can see this words which says author no longer had to produce scholarly works as was common until then. So that was changed, right? So authors no longer had to produce scholarly works but could write. They are giving an like a list of examples what they could write. So let's see what are the options. Options are romance became more popular than serious fiction. No, there is nothing written such as that thing. Let's see what's the second option. Second option is newspapers became more popular than books. I don't see any kind of comparison like that. So not for both those. Let's see what C says. Readers asked for more autobiographies. I don't see a demand in that line or the para too. What's the fourth one? So D says authors had a wider choice of topics, which I can definitely see in that para. Let's go again. So authors, writers, no longer had to produce scholarly works. So yeah, they were not only limited to some scholarly writings, but what they were doing, like what they could write, love stories or romantic novels and autobiographies and whatnot. So, for the second question, it would be option D for sure. And if you have got option D, awesome. Let's move to the third question. So according to the passage, if you see, it says in question, it says third para, but it will be fourth para. And again, for the fourth question, it will be fifth para. If you go by the passage in the PDF, that is what I got, and that's the correction that I feel should be done. So let's check. Question 3. In the third paragraph, the writer focuses on the. So let's go to the fourth para, not the third para, and see what the writer is focusing on. Let's move there, and the fourth para would be this one. In time. So that's the fourth para, and that's what the question is about. So let's see. In time, the power of the written word gave birth to the idea of authority and expertise. So, what did the power of written words did? It gave birth to the idea of authority, that's power and proficiency. Next, see what it says. Laws were compiled into official documents, so by writing only, they were all written down, and everything was being written down, and nothing was valid, right? So if nothing is valid, if it is not written down, so writing got its own kind of, you can say, it got a power in it, right? Let's move back to the question and see which one would be similar in these options. The writer focuses on the A option is legal concerns of authors. I don't see that. I can see laws were written down in the passage. B says rapid changes in public libraries. The author does not, like the writer does not focus on that. C says growing status of the written word. Somewhat I can see that. If you see that written word gave birth to the idea of authority and expertise, and what were written down, and nothing was valid if it was not written. So C, yeah. Let's see what D says. D says recognition of the book as an art form. Okay, recognition of the book as an art form. Some of you might think it like that when it's in painting, music, architecture, dance, and word, la 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 la, like that. But it is not the thing that the author or the writer tried to focus on, because they said that apart from painting, music, architecture, it was nice to see people turning the pages of the book like an art, but it never ever said recognition of the book as an art form. Reading can be the art form, but not recognition of the book. But that's again my point of view, and nothing is said like that in the passage. So that means it will be C, growing status of the written word, because whatever is not written down is not valid according to the passage. Let's move to the fourth question and see what it is all about. And as I said earlier, that it will be the fifth para according to the passage and not the fourth para. Okay, the question is, what does the writer say about screens in the fifth paragraph? Let's go to the fifth paragraph and see what is said. So this is the fifth para, and let's see. Today, words are migrating from paper to computers. So this is about migration from the old way to the new way. And now, what does the author say about that? So if you go a little bit down to this line where it says about screens that fill our pocket, so let's see what it says. Screens fill our pockets, briefcases, cars, living room walls, and the sides of building. They sit in front of us when we work, regardless of what we do. And of course, these newly ubiquitous screens have changed how we read and write. And I have already said ubiquitous means omnipresent, something that is present everywhere. Let's go to the question. Okay, so what does the writer say about the screens in the fifth paragraph? A. They are hard to read. I did not see that. B. They are bad for our health. I did not see that too, though it was said something about the television, but it was not something that's said in the fifth para. So let's skip to C. They can improve our work. I did not see that too. D. They can be found everywhere. Yeah, I saw that happening. Let's go back and see. So they can be found everywhere, ubiquitous, and everywhere, everywhere. Those are the examples that the writer is giving. So it will be option D, the last question of the set. According to the writer, computers differ from television because they. Let's go to the para. Okay. So there the writer has tried to differentiate in this para, and let's see what he has said. So he has spoken about television in here, and what he said that when educators and parents saw that people like the students are watching TV, they were worried about that because they were not writing. The students were not writing. And then what happened? Then it is the thin display of computer like that. So when the computer came, they saw like a change in that, and people started writing like typing, and now they are reading also, and World Wide Web has so many pages, this and that. So let's see what the question has the options of. So according to the writer, computer differs from television because they encourage more reading. Do you see that happening? Yes, World Wide Web said about the pages, and they said about reading also, and about. So the World Wide Web has also said something about the reading that we can see in the last line that it contained more than trillion pages. So yes, let's see. Attract more criticism? No, I did not see that in the passage. C. Take up more of our leisure time? I did not find that anywhere. And D. Include more educational content. It said about reading, but not about educational content as such. So the answer for A, that is, encourage more reading, can be found in these lines. Like, as a consequence, the amount of time people spend reading has almost tripled. And that's what computer did. So that's the reason of option A being the answer. Let's move into the next set of questions that we are having from 6 to 10. So these questions are about yes, no, and not given. These type of questions are sometimes the students say that they have the most problems with because they have troubles finding if that's not given or no, and yeah, vice versa. So let's see what these questions say. Question number 6. It says, screen reading has reduced the number of books and newspapers people read. Okay, so let's go back to the passage and see if we can see anything in there. And let's check. So in this para, we can see, but it is not book reading or newspaper reading. Okay, starting with it is not this means they are trying to say something different from screen reading in here, like along with these lines you can see. Okay, next, see what it says more. So it says screens are always on, and unlike books, we never stop staring at them. So that is also saying something about the screens. And let's go back to the question. The question was, screen reading has reduced the number of books and newspapers people read. So is it saying anything like that? That this has reduced people doing this and this? I don't see that in here. Let's read a few more lines. This new platform is very visual. They are talking still about the screen reading. Okay. New medium is also about the screen reading, and rest of the para is all about screen reading. I don't see them comparing, like they're telling anywhere that this has impacted anything with the readers of books and newspapers. So for 6, it would be a straightforward not given as the answer. And we will find that from the first and the second line only, that we don't see anywhere the like reference of these lines in any different way or something like that. Okay, let's check the seventh question. Seventh question says screen literacy requires a wider range of visual skills than book-based literacy. So the question is about the different types of literacy, and one requires more, like a wider range of visual skills. Let's see if we go back to the passage in the same para where we got the sixth answer. Let's read the para again, but it is not book reading or newspaper reading, it's screen reading. So again, it starts with but. So there is a contrast that it is giving you. Next line says screens are always on, unlike books. So again, always on, unlike books. It is a contrast again, and we never stop staring at them. So for books, we do for some time, we stop staring at them. Whenever we are not reading, the book is closed, we have bookmarked certain pages and we are done reading, or maybe we are just thinking about something, the book is closed. So yeah, we are not staring at that time. But for screen, if we are not checking the things out on the screen, we might be scrolling down to see something else. We are not reading. We are not reading a PDF. We are on, like you're using YouTube or Facebook. You're checking something out, a video, anything. Like it is a form of entertainment now. Everything is in the screen, right? So next lines will say this new platform is very visual, and our question was also about the wider range of visual skills. So screen reading says it is very visual. Let's see. This new platform is very visual and it is gradually merging words with moving images. So what it does, it says, you might think of this new medium as books we watch or television we read. We also use screens to present data, and this encourages numeracy. So numeracy is encouraged by this way of presenting anything when you're doing kind of a survey report and showing that on like a chart on the screen. So that's something again. Next, see what it says. Visualizing data, reading charts, looking at the pictures, symbols are all part of this new literacy. So these are all the wide range of visual skills that we saw. And this range is these lines, like visualizing data, reading charts, looking at pictures, symbols, are all part of this literacy. So all of these will be in that wider scope, in that wider range. So that's where I got 7 as a yes. So 7 will be yes for sure because it's given, we can see that. Let's move on to the eighth question. Screen reading is more active than book reading. Yeah, it was about the para, like we read that, but let's see if that's mentioned in the same way or not. Okay, let's move on to the next para. Screens engage our bodies too. So it is talking about engaging our bodies. The most we do while reading a book is to flip the pages or turn over a corner, but when we use a screen, we interact with what we see. Okay, which is good. Now we can see they're trying to differentiate between screen reading and book reading, which is good. Now let's see the question 8 once again. Screen reading is more active than book reading. And what we saw in here, screens engage our bodies too. So yeah, that is an active form. Does book do that? I haven't seen you are engaging your bodies while reading a book, right? And it also says what we do while reading a book is to flip the pages or turn over a corner, right? But when we use a screen, we interact with what we see. So we are interacting with what we are seeing means we are doing more than when we are reading a book. So for that reason, this will be a yes because we can see the comparison going on between book reading and screen reading and which is more active and which is lesser active, and we can see that in that para. Let's move on to the next questions. Ninth, screens and books produce similar thought patterns in their readers. Okay, let's go back to the para. So it is said about something that the screens are doing and the books are doing. So let's check what it is said, and it will be in the next few paragraphs. Let's see if that is in the following paragraph where we got the question 8's answer. In the futuristic movie Minority Report, the main character stands in front of the screen and hunts through huge amounts of information as if conducting an orchestra, just as it seemed strange 5 centuries ago to see someone read silently. In future, it will seem strange to read without moving your body. So, this para is all about what we read in the last question, and they are just trying to give an example over here. Now, we are trying to search about thought pattern, thought thinking. So, you can even see this if you are just trying to get like at a glance if you're trying to get the word, find the word. So thought, thinking, just like that. So this para might have the answer to the question ninth. Let's read through and see. Go back to the question. Screens and book produce similar thought patterns in their readers. Let's go back in here and see. In addition, screens encourage more utilitarian or practical thinking. So they are talking about more. A new idea or unfamiliar fact will cause a reflex to do something, to research a word, to question your screen friends for their opinions, or to find alternative views. So, if you're getting a new idea or you're getting some fact with which you are not familiar to, it always provokes you to do something. Like, I'm getting a word which I don't know the meaning of, I will be searching the meaning instantly on my phone. So that's a reflex to search the meaning of the word, to question your friends. You might be asking your friends on Facebook that, what's the meaning of this word, bro? I don't know. So that happens. Let's see what the last few lines says. Book reading strengthened our analytical skills. So what book reading has done, it has strengthened our analytical skills, encouraging us to think carefully about how we feel. So, what has book reading done? We are thinking, analyzing things, and we are thinking carefully, like we are taking time to think that while we are reading books. Next is about screen reading. Screen reading, on the other hand, so if there was a similarity, it won't be on the other hand over here, and I highlighted the whole line. Okay, so on the other hand is always kind of comparison. So the question was about similar thought patterns, and we are seeing comparison in that. Let's read on. On the other hand, encourages quick response. It was think carefully, and this is quicker. associating this idea with another, equipping us to deal with the thousands of new thoughts expressed every day. Even if you don't have any knowledge of what these words are saying, you can just check the on the other hand and you can have an idea that it is not telling you the same thing that reading and like book reading and screen reading is doing. So for sure, ninth would be a no, because it is the difference that the para is letting you know, nothing but similarity. Let's move to the last question of this set. People are easily persuaded to believe lies on the screen. Okay, let's go back and see where we are having the word, and I just did something that I should not be doing there. So I can see persuasion in there. So let's highlight that. Hmm. Screens provoke action instead of persuasion. Okay. And our question was, people are easily persuaded to believe lies on screen. So if you're watching something online, you will believe that it has happened. Do you believe that it has happened when somebody dresses up like an alien and walks through the screen and they say, "Ooh, look, an alien from Mars"? Do you believe that? I don't. I don't know about you, but I don't. Okay, so people are easily persuaded to believe lies on the screen, and the para says screens provoke action instead of persuasion. So again, instead of, this word means that is not what the question says. Let's move ahead and read what these lines say. Propaganda is less effective. So again, misinformation is less effective. And the question says lies. So let's see. Propaganda is also kind of a lie in a political manner. So it is less effective, just opposite to what the question said. And false information is hard to deliver in a world of screens, because while misinformation travels fast, corrections do too. These lines only say that the 10th question we have, that people are easily persuaded, they are not. So it is a total opposite thing that we can see in the para, and for that reason it will be a no. Moving on to the next and the last set of questions for this passage, let's see what it is asking us. So it is giving us four questions for which we have six options. Complete each sentence with correct ending A to F below. What are the questions? Let's read the questions first. The film Minority Report illustrates something from the option. Our behavior when we watch a film shows, again, something from the option. 13th, Wikipedia's success relies on, something from the option that we are not seeing right now. And Webkins is an example of, again, something from the option that we should not be checking right now. Let's move to the paragraph. Mark where you're getting the words, because that's how you will be doing in the examination. Let's move in there. So what we need to search about the Minority Report. This is where we are finding Minority Report. And what Minority Report says, so it says this is a futuristic movie, correct? The main character stands in front of the screen. So it says how the main character is behaving when it is standing in front of the screen while reading, right? And it looks like the main character is just standing in front of an orchestra, like doing something from an orchestra move, right? So let's check the options now. Hmm. Is it the accuracy of its information? There is no link, and it makes no sense if I select A. Is it? It does not. Let's see B. People's ability to concentrate. I don't see anything for people, but it says something about somebody, how he reads. Let's see C. The global use of the internet. It is not something about global because that's a futuristic movie and we haven't like arrived to that period of time. And D, how people behave physically when they read screens can be because how they are behaving, particularly when they are reading, it is about a behavior that it seems like an orchestra. E, the screen's ability to make an object seem real. Does that say so? I don't see that though. Like it just says something about how the person is behaving. And F, how rapidly opinions can be communicated, which is not again said in that para. So if I see D is the closest option that I feel it can be, and again, let's go back. So the main character stands in front of the screen, and yeah, it is about a behavioral pattern, how they're doing while they're hunting through the amounts of information, right? So for this question 11, it should be the option D that is the correct answer, and we have seen the paragraph from which we are getting that, right? Now let's see question 12. Our behavior when we watch a movie shows, let's see where it was mentioned. Watching a movie, if you just check, oops, this lines, I'm really bad with highlighting. So if you just scroll the way there, and we can see something like review a movie. And the question is our behavior when we watch a movie. Let's go back and see. For example, when we review a movie for our friends while we watch it. Like we do review a movie for somebody when we watch it. And earlier also I said that while watching a movie, we try to criticize that, right? So what can be the option of us saying that we review a movie while we are watching that? Let's see. So we have already taken D from the option list and we are left with 5. Is it option A, that the accuracy of its information? There is nothing said about any information. It is about we are criticizing something or reviewing something. Is it people's ability to concentrate? I don't see any concentration going on, but we are doing two tasks at the same time, right? C, the global use of internet. We can watch a movie in the movie theaters, which does not even need internet because we can watch it from the disk or something like that. So no. E, the screen's ability to make an object seem real. Nope. And F, how rapidly opinions can be communicated. So it can be, and how? Because we are reviewing our movie for our friends. So that review is kind of a communication. And how rapidly? While watching the movie, we are doing that task. So that's how fast we are. While reviewing, you are doing that, like watching, reviewing at the same time. And that will be communicated to somebody, right? Okay, let's check the next question. Wikipedia's success relies on. Let's see where we can find Wikipedia. I can see Wikipedia here. So it is asking about Wikipedia's success relies on. Wikipedia works so well because, now see what it says. It removes an error in a single click. So Wikipedia's success or Wikipedia is doing so well because it removes an error in the single click. That's what it is saying. Removing error means that it is correct whenever we are checking Wikipedia. And let's see what is correct or something in the options. And we have taken off D and F. Now we are left with A, B, C, E. What is the first option? The accuracy of its information. And what we read was just similar to that because we read it removes an error in a single click. So that's how much accurate Wikipedia is. And that's a straightforward answer that we can see. And the last question, Webkins is an example of. And now we have B, C, and E. Let's see what will be our answer. Webkins. I can see Webkins in here. All these lines are about Webkins. So let's read. A popular children's toy, Webkins installs stuffed animals with virtual character that is hidden inside. and the screen enables children to play with this character, like this inner character, online in a virtual world. So just like Pokemon Go, you are having a pet, your pet Pokemon, and you're playing with that in the virtual world, right? Webkins does the same thing. So let's check the remaining options. Option B, people's ability to concentrate. I don't think it is said like that. Option C, the global use of internet. Not everybody in the world is using Webkins, so no. Option D, the screen's ability to make an object seem real. Yeah, that's what the para says too. The screen's ability to make an object seem real, because it was talking about instill stuffed animals with virtual character, and the screen enables children to play with this inner character online in a virtual world. So that's what it is saying, and that's what we can say in E option. So as you have seen, if you were following the video and if you have downloaded the paragraph or the passage from the link in the description, you can also see the solution that is given. And if you are getting 14 out of 14 correct, that is awesome, because if you're getting 14 answers correct out of 40, imagine, like, you are doing so great, and the two passages that is left to be done, you will do well in those too. And getting answers like this, because this passage I feel was a moderate one, not that easy, not that hard, and getting answers when you are hunting for them in a faster way like this will be a blessing in the examination. I have seen students struggling with reading, and I have seen them spending a whole hour on one passage, which I don't want to happen for anyone. So if you try to read and enjoy what you're reading, I don't feel that it will be something that you will be bothered about, and it won't take that much time. It only takes that much time when you don't pay quite well attention, I would say. So just try to enjoy what you're reading, feel what you're reading, and try to imagine what you're reading, because this passage was quite a moderate one. If you are getting at least 10 correct, you are doing impressive. Even if you're not getting those many correct, you know now how to solve the things, what to look for. And these are exactly the same things that we need to do in the examination. And these only can prepare you well in order to get higher band score. Can be 8 plus, can be 9 bands. You can get 9 bands in your first attempt. That's not that difficult if you study or if you concentrate well with your reading. All that I can say is subscribe to my channel. You can share the video if you like and give a thumbs up. You can post a comment too in the video, and I will be bringing more reading explanations, because I have seen some of my students asking for those, and providing videos. I think I can make things easier for them, and it will be helpful for everybody, I feel. So all the best for your examination, and practice, 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 and try to enjoy too.